The silk of my red wedding robe feels like a shroud. I am lying on the freezing floor of the cold plum pavilion. My lungs burn, and the taste of metallic blood coats my tongue. Through the hazy blur of my failing vision, I see her, Lin Meng'er. She isn't coughing anymore. She isn't pale. She stands over me, the sickly girl, looking down with a smile that would make a demon shiver. Sister Qingwan, she whispers, her voice like honeyed poison. Shurao gave me the keys to the treasury today. He said, a woman of my health needs security. Since you're leaving us, I'll take good care of your family's inheritance. I try to scream, to call for the man I loved for 10 years, the man who promised my father he would protect me. But Wei Shurao is just outside the door. I can hear his heavy boots in the snow. Is she resting? His voice asks, deep, commanding, and utterly indifferent to my agony. She's sleeping deeply, General, Meng'er chirps, stepping over my paralyzed body to greet him. Let's not wake her. The doctor says her moods are just getting worse. Liars. My heart shatters before it stops. My last sight is the flickering candle of my life going out, while the man I adored walks away with the woman who just murdered me. Suddenly, a gasp. I bolt upright. The air is warm. The scent of sandalwood and fresh peonies fills my nose. I am not in the cold pavilion. I am in my maiden chambers. My hands are soft, unscarred. I look in the mirror and see a girl of 19, not the broken woman of 25. The date on the calendar, the 15th of the third moon. The day Wei Shurao brings her back to the capital. I touch my throat, the phantom pain of the poison still lingering. A cold, sharp smile carves its way onto my face. General, this time, I won't wait for you to choose her. I will make sure the world watches as I throw you away. Welcome to Lotus Tale Studios. I hope this story finds you well and brings you the escape you need today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. It really helps this channel grow and keeps the stories coming. The silk curtains of my carriage are heavy, embroidered with the golden peonies of the Ye family, a symbol of a prestige that once blinded me. Outside, the streets of the capital are humming with a specific, electric energy. I know this day. I have lived it in a nightmare that lasted 6 years, and now, I am living it again in the waking world. I pull the curtain back just an inch. The spring breeze is cool, but it feels like needles against my skin. My lady, you look pale, my maid, Susu, whispers, reaching out to adjust my cloak. Are you anxious to see the general? It has been 3 years since he left for the northern border. They say he returns a hero. A hero, I think, my fingers tightening around a jade pendant until the edges dig into my palm. Or a heartbreaker. I am not anxious, Susu, I say, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears, sharper, steadier. I am merely observant. The carriage jolts to a halt near the city gates. The crowd is cheering. The rhythmic thunder of hooves approaches, a sound that used to make my heart leap with a pathetic, girlish joy. In my past life, I had run toward that sound. I had tripped over my hem, losing my shoe in the mud, just to be the first to see Wei Shurao's face. He had looked at me with such annoyance then, embarrassed by my lack of noble composure in front of his men. Not today. Today, I step out of the carriage with the calculated grace of a queen. I stand tall, my spine a rod of iron, watching as the black-armored cavalry sweeps through the gate. At the head of the formation sits Wei Shurao. He is as handsome as a wicked god, sharp jawline, eyes like flint, and a presence that demands the air leave your lungs. But my gaze doesn't linger on him. It moves to the horse trailing immediately behind his. There she is. Lin Meng'er. She is draped in a plain, white cloak, looking like a delicate lily caught in a storm. She rides a small mare, her body swaying as if she might collapse at any moment. The frail orphan of a fallen lieutenant. The girl who saved the general's life in a blizzard. The crowd whispers. Who is the woman with the general? Why is she riding within the inner circle? Wei Shurao dismounts in one fluid motion. He doesn't look at the officials waiting to greet him. He doesn't look at the emperor's messengers. His eyes scan the crowd until they land on me. For a fleeting second, I see a flicker of something, guilt. Surprise. He walks toward me, his cape snapping in the wind. Qingwan, he says. No, my lady, No fiancé. Just my name, dropped like a stone. I didn't expect you to be here. The general returns in glory, I reply, my voice a cool stream of water. I do not bow low. I merely incline my head. As your betrothed, it is my duty to ensure the Ye family honors the victory. However, I turn my gaze to the girl currently being helped off her horse by two of his elite guards. It seems the general has brought back more than just spoils of war. Wei Shurao's expression hardens. He steps closer, lowering his voice so the surrounding nobles can't hear. Meng'er is the daughter of a man who died for me. She is sickly and alone. I have brought her to the capital to be cared for. I expect you to show her the kindness of a future mistress of the Wei household. In my previous life, I had nodded eagerly. I had welcomed her with open arms, gave her my own jewelry, and called her sister. I had let her viper's tongue whisper insecurities into my ear for years. Kindness is earned, General, I say, loud enough for his nearby lieutenants to blink in surprise. And as for the mistress of the Wei household, that title is a heavy one. Perhaps too heavy for a girl who cannot even sit upright on a horse without 3 men assisting her. I see Meng'er flinch. She bites her lip, her eyes instantly welling with tears. It's a practiced move, the white lotus in full bloom. Shurao. She whimpers, her voice trembling. Please, don't let Lady Ye be angry. I told you I should have stayed in the village. I am just a burden. Wei Shurao's face darkens with protective rage. Qingwan, apologize. She has suffered enough. I let out a soft, melodic laugh that doesn't reach my eyes. I take a step toward Meng'er. She shrinks back, playing the victim perfectly. I reach out, not to strike her, but to tuck a stray lock of hair behind her ear. My fingers are ice cold against her skin. Apologize. I whisper, leaning into her ear so only she can hear. Little sister, the play has only just begun. You want to show off your authority in my house? You'll find that in this life, I've burned the stage down. I pull back, smiling brightly at the stunned general. I shall leave you to your guest, General. I have a wedding to postpone. After all, if the general is so busy playing healer, he certainly won't have time to be a husband. I turn on my heel, my silken robes snapping. I don't look back. I can feel Wei Shurao's burning gaze on my back, and for the first time in 2 lifetimes, I feel truly warm. The night falls over the city, but the Yi manor is silent. I sit by the window, watching the rain begin to wash away the dust of the day. A knock sounds at the door. My lady, Susu whispers. A gift has arrived. Not from the general, but from the Duke of Qin. I frown. Xiao Jingshan? The man who speaks to no one? I open the small, lacquered box. Inside is a single, silver dagger and a note written in a sharp, bold hand. The moon is brightest before it is eclipsed. Hold the blade, not the flower. I trace the cold metal of the dagger. It seems I have an ally I never knew in the darkness. Wei Shurao thinks he is bringing a lamb into his den to be bullied by his Moonlight. He doesn't realize he's just invited a wolf to his table. The imperial spring banquet is a sea of shimmering silks and the heavy scent of blooming jasmine. In my past life, I had spent weeks preparing for this night, hoping to prove to the world and to Shurao that I was worthy of standing by his side. I had worn a soft, pink gown that made me look like a fragile blossom. I had been a fool. Tonight, I choose blood and gold. My gown is a deep, defiant crimson, the sleeves embroidered with soaring cranes in gold thread. My hair is piled high, held by a phoenix jade hairpin that belonged to my grandmother, a woman who once led a cavalry charge alongside the founding emperor. I don't look like a girl waiting to be loved, I look like a woman born to rule. As I enter the great hall, the chatter dies down for a heartbeat. I see Shurao at the head of the military table. He looks striking in his formal black robes, but beside him, seated in a place reserved for family, is Lin Meng'er. She is dressed entirely in white silk, looking like a mourning ghost amidst the celebration. She has even painted her face to look paler than usual, her eyes downcast, the very image of a moonlight lover hidden in plain sight. Lady Ye, a voice rumbles. I turn to see the Duke of Qin, Xiao Jingshan. He is leaning against a pillar, a cup of wine in his hand. His eyes, dark and unreadable, sweep over my dress. The color suits you. It looks like a battlefield. Tonight, Your Grace, it might just be one, I reply, my voice steady. He gives a ghost of a smirk. Then I shall ensure I have a front row seat. I walk toward the general's table. Shurao's eyes narrow as I approach. He stands, his presence looming over me. Qingwan. You are late. And your attire, it is a bit loud for a formal banquet, isn't it? A general should be used to loud things, shouldn't he? I smile, my eyes flicking to Menge. I see you've brought your ward. Is she feeling better? Or is the palace air too heavy for her delicate constitution? Menge looks up, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. Sister Qingwan, please don't be cross with the general. I didn't want to come, but he insisted I shouldn't be left alone in the manor while he celebrated. I know I don't belong here. If you know you don't belong, then why are you sitting in the seat designated for the Ye family's future daughter-in-law? I ask, my voice projecting across the neighboring tables. The silence that follows is deafening. Shurao's face flushes with anger. Qingwan. That's enough. She is a guest. Move to the side table, there is plenty of room. In the past, I would have lowered my head and moved, burning with shame. Tonight, I simply signal to the palace eunuch. The general seems to have forgotten his court etiquette, I say smoothly. This seat is granted by imperial decree to the general's fiancé. If a guest is sitting in it, it implies she is the one the general intends to marry. General Wei, are you announcing a change in your marriage contract tonight? If so, I shall go to the emperor right now and ask him to dissolve our engagement so you can marry Miss Lin immediately. The color drains from Shurao's face. He cannot dissolve the engagement, not yet. He needs my father's old generals to support his next campaign. Marrying a nameless orphan like Menge would be social and political suicide. Don't be ridiculous, Shurao hisses. Menge, move. Sit with the attendants. Menge's face contorts for a split second, a flash of pure, unadulterated hatred before she covers it with a sob. She stands, trembling so violently that she accidentally knocks over a carafe of red wine. The liquid splashes across my crimson skirt. Oh, sister, I'm so sorry, she cries, covering her mouth. I'm so clumsy, my hands just lost their strength. She waits for it. She waits for Shurao to defend her, to scold me for being angry. She waits for the room to pity the poor, weak girl being bullied by the highborn lady. I don't scream. I don't even flinch. I look down at the wine stain, then back at her. Your hands lost their strength. I ask softly. I pick up a heavy gold bowl of soup from the table. That sounds like a serious medical condition, Miss Lin. Perhaps we should test your reflexes. Before anyone can move, I tilt the bowl. I don't pour it on her. I pour it slowly, deliberately, onto the floor right in front of her feet. Walk, I command. What? She stammers. If you are truly as weak as you say, you'll slip. If you're faking it to gain sympathy, you'll find your balance quite easily, I say, my voice cold as a winter tomb. General, you are a man of logic. If she is too ill to stand, she needs a physician, not a banquet. If she is well enough to be here, then she is well enough to be held accountable for her clumsiness. Qingwan, you're being cruel, Shurao growls, stepping between us. No, Shurao, I say, stepping closer to him, my eyes locked on his. I am being honest. You brought a Moonlight into my house and expected me to be the clouds that hide her. But I am the sun. And I will burn anything that tries to eclipse me. I turn to the Duke of Qin, who is watching with an amused glint in his eyes. Your Grace, I believe my dress is ruined. Would you be so kind as to escort me to the gardens for some air? I find the smell of deceit in this hall quite stifling. Xiao Jingshan steps forward, offering his arm with a flourish. It would be my absolute pleasure, Lady Ye. As we walk away, I don't need to look back to know that Menge is humiliated and Shurao is fuming. But more importantly, the entire court is whispering. The perfect general is losing control of his household, and his weak fiancé has just grown claws. In the moonlit garden, the Duke stops. You played a dangerous game back there, he says, his voice low. Wei Shurao is a proud man. He won't forget this. Let him remember, I say, looking up at the moon. In my last dream, I died because I was too quiet. In this life, I'll be so loud he'll never know peace again. He looks at me for a long moment, then reaches into his robe. He pulls out a small silken scroll. If you want to truly break his authority, you need more than just ruined dresses. This is the ledger of the grain supplies Shurao lost during the winter campaign. Guess whose name is on the secondary warehouse lease? Lin Menge. My heart thumps. She wasn't just a lover, she was his accomplice in corruption. Why are you helping me? I ask. Because, Xiao Jingshan whispers, leaning in close, I've always preferred the wolf to the lamb. The morning after the banquet, the Wei manor feels like a coiled spring. I don't wait for the tension to snap, I cut it myself. I am sitting in the main hall, the ledger the Duke of Qin gave me resting on my lap like a loaded crossbow. In my past life, I had surrendered the household keys to Menge within a week, moved by her sad story of being a homeless orphan. I had lived like a guest in my own home while she dismissed my loyal servants and replaced them with her spies. Not this time. Susu, bring the household staff. All of them, I command. Within minutes, 60 servants are lined up in the courtyard. Among them stands Menge, leaning heavily on her maid, looking as though she might faint at the mere sight of the morning sun. Shurao is there too, standing on the veranda, his arms crossed, his brow furrowed in a permanent scowl. Qingwan, what is the meaning of this? Shurao calls out. It's barely dawn. A house cannot have two masters, Shurao, I say, not looking up from my tea. And currently, the accounts of this manor are a mess. I am simply performing my duty as your betrothed to ensure your guests aren't accidentally stealing from you. Menge gasps, her hand flying to her chest. Sister, what are you saying? Are you accusing me? I'm accusing the numbers, Menge. They don't lie as well as people do. I stand up and walk to the edge of the veranda. I look down at the head steward, a man named Zhao who I know, from my past life, was Menge's primary informant. Steward Zhao, I say, my voice ringing out. The ledger shows 10,000 taels of silver were moved to a private warehouse in the southern district last month. Under whose authority was this done? Zhao pales, his eyes flickering toward Shurao, then Menge. The general gave the order, my lady. For military provisions. Is that so? I pull out the second ledger, the one the Duke gave me. Because the military headquarters has no record of receiving these provisions. However, the lease for that warehouse is signed by a Miss Lin. Tell me, Menge, since when do you deal in military grain? The courtyard goes deathly silent. Shurao steps forward, his eyes fixed on the paper in my hand. Let me see that. He snatches the paper. I watch his face turn from confusion to a cold, stony grey. He isn't stupid. He knows that if the censorate finds out he's funneling military funds into a private account held by his mistress, his head will be on a spike by sundown. Shurao, I didn't know. Menge wails, dropping to her knees on the hard stone. The steward told me we needed a place to store gift. I only signed what I was told. I'm just a simple girl, I don't understand these things. She's right, Shurao says, his voice low, though his hand is shaking. She wouldn't know how to do this. It must be a mistake by the staff. He is protecting her. Even with the evidence in his hand, he is choosing her. A mistake. I laugh, and the sound is sharp as a blade. Then let us correct it. Since Miss Lin is too simple to understand the gravity of signatures, she clearly cannot be trusted with any authority in this house. Steward Zhao, you are dismissed. Guards, take him to the magistrate for questioning regarding the missing grain. You can't do that. Menge screams, her frail mask slipping for a second. I am the daughter of the Ye family. My father's seal still carries weight in this city, I say, stepping down the stairs until I am inches from her face. And as of this moment, you are no longer a guest of the Wei family. You are a liability. I turn to Shurao. Choose, General. You can keep her here and let the Duke of Qin take this ledger to the Emperor tomorrow morning, or you can send her to the ancestral temple in the outskirts to pray for her health and her sins. If she stays, you fall with her. Shurao looks at me as if he's seeing a monster. You would destroy me. After everything? You destroyed yourself the moment you brought a thief into a house of warriors, I reply. The silence stretches. Menge is sobbing now, reaching for the hem of Shurao's robe. Shurao, don't let her do this. You promised. You promised you'd protect me. Shurao looks at the ledger, then at the gathered servants who are all watching his disgrace. His reputation is his life. His pride is his god. He reaches down and slowly, painfully, pries Menge's fingers off his robe. Prepare a carriage, Shurao says, his voice sounding hollow. Miss Lin will be staying at the Cold Mountain Temple for the foreseeable future. Shurao. Menge shrieks, her voice turning shrill and ugly. You coward. You promised me. As the guards drag the screaming Moonlight away, Shurao turns to me. The hatred in his eyes is enough to burn the world. You've won this round, Qingwan. But don't think for a second that I will ever forgive you for this. I don't seek your forgiveness, General, I say, turning back toward my chambers. I seek your ruin. And we're only on the first floor. I walk away, feeling the weight of the silver dagger in my sleeve. I have stripped him of his lover and his shadow finances. Now, all that's left is to take his heart and then break it. The autumn hunt is not a sport, it is a display of power. The vast forests of the imperial hunting grounds are painted in shades of dying amber and violent gold. In my past life, I had stayed behind in the tents, nursing a headache while Shurao rode off to fetch a medicinal flower for Menge. I had been a ghost in the background of his glory. But today, I am dressed in a hunting suit of midnight blue, my hair tied back in a high, fierce ponytail. A bow is slung across my back. The general stands by his stallion, his eyes scanning the horizon. Since I sent Menge to the temple, he hasn't spoken a word to me. He moves through the manor like a silent storm, his resentment a thick, suffocating fog. He thinks that by ignoring me, he can make me wither. He forgets that I have already died once. Silence is a luxury I've learned to enjoy. Lady Ye, a familiar, low voice calls out. I turn to see Xiao Jingshan, the Duke of Qin. He is mounted on a massive coal-black warhorse, looking every bit the silent wolf the stories describe. He doesn't wear the flamboyant colors of the other princes, he is a shadow in the sunlight. Your Grace, I greet him, my horse stepping rhythmically beside his. I heard the Cold Mountain Temple has a new resident, he says, a ghost of a smile playing on his lips. The monks say her prayers sound remarkably like screaming. Piety takes many forms, I reply coolly. Suddenly, Shurao gallops up to us, his face a mask of cold fury. He looks at me, then at the Duke, his grip tightening on his reins. Qingwan, this is the inner forest. It is dangerous. You should return to the Empress's side. I am a daughter of the Yi family, General, I say, meeting his gaze without blinking. Danger is my inheritance. Or have you spent so much time protecting fragile things that you've forgotten what a real woman looks like? The Duke chuckles, a dry, dangerous sound. Let her ride, Wei. Unless you're afraid she'll outshine you today? Shurao's jaw tightens. The hunt has begun. Do not get in my way. He spurs his horse and disappears into the thicket, a man trying to outrun his own mounting humiliation. The deeper we go into the forest, the more the air changes. The sounds of the other nobles fade, replaced by the snapping of twigs and the heavy scent of damp earth. I am separated from the main group when I spot it, a white stag, a rare omen of the heavens. I draw my bow, the wood creaking. This stag's pelt would be the ultimate prize to present to the Emperor. It would cement my family's standing and prove that the Yi line is still formidable. Whoosh! An arrow whistles through the air, but it doesn't hit the stag. It strikes a tree trunk inches from my horse's head. My mount rears back, neighing in terror. I struggle to keep my seat, my heart hammering against my ribs. From the shadows of the brush, 3 masked men emerge. They aren't hunters. They carry curved blades, and their eyes are devoid of anything but lethal intent. The general sends his regards, one of them growls. My blood turns to ice. Shurao? Would he really stoop to this? Or is this Menge's hidden hand, reaching out from the temple to drag me into the dirt? I don't have time to think. I reach for the silver dagger in my sleeve, but as the first assassin lunges, a blur of black and steel intercepts him. Xiao Jingshan appears like a vengeful spirit. He dismounts in mid-air, his sword unsheathed before his feet hit the ground. The sound of clashing metal rings through the clearing. He moves with a terrifying, fluid lethality, each strike is a finality. Stay back, Qingwan, he commands, his voice a low roar. I don't stay back. I notch an arrow and aim. My hands are shaking, but I remember the cold tea. I remember the freezing floor. I remember the laughter of the woman who killed me. Knock. Draw. Loose. My arrow finds the shoulder of the second assassin just as he prepares to strike the Duke's back. He screams, tumbling into the dirt. Within moments, it is over. 2 are dead, 1 has fled into the brush. Xiao Jingshan stands amidst the carnage, his breathing steady, his blade dripping crimson onto the autumn leaves. He turns to me, his eyes searching my face for fear. Are you hurt? He asks, stepping toward me. No, I whisper, my voice trembling slightly. They said the general sent them. The Duke wipes his blade on a silk cloth. Wei Shurao is many things, arrogant, blind, and foolish, but he is a soldier. He wouldn't hire common thugs to do a job he could do with his own hands. This reeks of someone trying to frame him while removing you. He walks to me and reaches up, his hand hovering near my cheek before he pulls it back. You were brave. Most ladies would have fainted. I have no more room for fainting, I say, looking at the dead men. Who would benefit from my death and Shurao's disgrace? The answer is usually the one who has the most to lose, the Duke replies. At that moment, the sound of galloping horses approaches. Shurao bursts into the clearing, followed by his guards. He sees the bodies, sees me standing with the Duke, and his face goes pale. Qingwan. What happened? He rushes toward me, reaching for my arm. I recoil as if he were a viper. Don't touch me. I heard the commotion, I came as fast as I could. The general sends his regards, I repeat the assassin's words, my voice trembling with a mixture of shock and calculated fury. That is what they said, Shurao. While you were chasing shadows, I was being hunted by men using your name. Shurao looks at the Duke, then back at me, his eyes wide with horror. I didn't. I would never. It doesn't matter if you did or didn't, the Duke of Qin says, stepping between me and Shurao, his presence like an immovable mountain. The fact that your name is so easily used by murderers proves you can no longer protect her. From this moment on, Lady Ye is under the protection of the Qin estate. The general's face contorts. She is my fiancé. You have no right. A contract is just paper, the Duke says, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. And I think we've both seen that the general's moonlight has cast too many shadows. Come, Qingwan. I take the Duke's hand and mount his horse. As we ride away, I look back one last time. Shurao is standing alone in the blood-stained clearing, looking small against the towering trees. The trap is set. He thinks he's losing his bride, but he's actually losing his soul. And as for Meng'er, if she wants to play with fire from her temple cell, I'll make sure the whole mountain burns. The Qin estate is a fortress of silence and silver-grey stone. Unlike the Wei Manor, which always smelled of Shurao's heavy incense and tension, this place smells of old books and rain. I have spent 3 days here, recovering from the shock of the forest. But I am not resting. I am watching the bait. The news has spread, my lady, Susu whispers as she brushes my hair. The general has been outside the gates every morning, begging for an audience. He even brought the white crane jade you once admired. He looks broken. Let him break, I say, looking at my reflection. I am wearing a simple white robe, no jewelry, my face pale. A man only values what is lost when he realizes someone else is holding it. The Duke of Qin enters, his footsteps echoing on the polished wood. He holds a small, damp piece of parchment. We found the messenger. You were right, Qingwan. The general's regards weren't his at all. The gold used to pay the assassins was traced back to a pawnshop in the southern district. The item traded. A phoenix hairpin, given by the general to Lin Meng'er last spring. My heart goes cold. She sold his gifts to buy my life. It's time, I say, standing up. If she wants to play the martyr in the temple, let's give her a congregation. The cold mountain temple is shrouded in mist when we arrive. I am not alone. I have invited the censorate officials, the high priestess, and most importantly a devastated, desperate Wei Shurao. We find Meng'er in the side chapel. She is kneeling before a statue of Buddha, her back to us. She looks thinner, her white robes dusty, her voice chanting a soft, mournful prayer for the safety of Lady Ye. Meng'er, Shurao's voice breaks the silence. He sounds like a man drowning. She turns, her eyes widening. She immediately bursts into tears, throwing herself at his feet. Shurao, you came. I knew you wouldn't leave me in this cold place. I've been praying every hour for Sister Qingwan's soul. I heard she was attacked. I was so scared. Were you, Meng'er? I step out from behind the Duke's shadow. Meng'er's scream is genuine this time. She falls backward, her face turning a ghostly, translucent white. Qingwan. You're alive. You sound disappointed, I say, walking toward her. My steps are slow, deliberate. Did the assassins not describe the scene well enough? Or were you waiting for the news of my funeral to move back into the manor? I don't know what you're talking about, she wails, clutching Shurao's boots. Shurao, she's gone mad. The trauma has broken her mind. Then explain this, the Duke of Qin says, stepping forward. He tosses the pawnshop receipt and the recovered phoenix hairpin onto the floor. The clatter of the jade against the stone sounds like a gavel. Shurao picks up the hairpin. I see the moment the last of his delusions die. He recognizes it. He remembers the day he bought it for her, promising her that even though he had to marry me for power, she would always have his protection. You sold this? Shurao asks, his voice trembling with a terrifying, quiet rage. You sold the token of my promise, to hire men to butcher my fiancé? No. It was stolen. I was robbed on the way to the temple, she shrieks, her voice losing its sweetness, turning into the jagged edge of a saw. The pawnshop owner already identified your maid, Meng'er, I say, leaning down to her level. And the assassin we captured? He's currently in the Duke's dungeon. He was very talkative. He mentioned a girl with a sickly cough who gave him the map of the hunting grounds. Meng'er looks at Shurao, seeing the wall of ice in his eyes. She realizes the White Lotus act is finished. Her face transforms. The tears stop. A hideous, mocking smile curls her lips. So what if I did? She spits, standing up and brushing the dust off her robes. She looks at Shurao with pure contempt. You used me too, Shurao. You used me to feel like a hero because you were too intimidated by Qingwan's nobility. You loved that I was weak because it made you feel strong. I just did what was necessary to keep my place. Shurao staggers back as if he's been punched. Guards, the censorate official steps forward. Lin Meng'er, you are under arrest for the attempted murder of a noblewoman and the embezzlement of military funds. As they drag her away, she doesn't cry. She screams curses at me, her authority reduced to the screeching of a cornered rat. The chapel becomes silent. Shurao turns to me, his eyes red. He reaches out a hand, his fingers shaking. Qingwan. I was a fool. I let a shadow blind me to the sun. Please, come home. We can start again. I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you. I look at his hand. This is the man I died for. This is the man whose neglect killed the girl I used to be. Start again? I ask softly. I reach into my sleeve and pull out the betrothment jade he gave me years ago. I drop it onto the floor, right next to the dirted phoenix hairpin. The Ye family officially dissolves the engagement, General. You wanted a Moonlight that wouldn't challenge you. Well, she's gone. And I am no longer yours to claim. Qingwan, please, he begs, falling to his knees. I love you. I realize it now. No, I say, turning toward the Duke of Qin, who is waiting for me at the door with a warm, steady gaze. You don't love me. You love the regret of losing me. There's a difference. I walk out of the temple, leaving the great general of the north kneeling in the dust of his own shattered lies. The winter's first snow begins to fall over the capital, dusting the rooftops in a deceptive, peaceful white. But inside the imperial court, the atmosphere is anything but calm. I stand at the center of the great hall, my head held high. I am no longer wearing the colors of a blushing bride or a grieving fiancé. I am dressed in the deep charcoal and silver of the Yi clan's ancestral armor, a heavy, ceremonial silk that carries the weight of my father's legacy. Today is the day of the imperial inquiry. General Wei Shurao, the emperor's voice booms from high above. The evidence presented by the censorate and the Duke of Qin is irrefutable. Your negligence allowed a civilian to meddle in military logistics, and your lack of character led to a bloodbath during the autumn hunt. I look to my left. Shurao stands there, stripped of his ceremonial medals. His eyes are sunken, his skin sallow. He looks like a man who hasn't slept in weeks. Every time he tries to catch my eye, I look through him as if he were made of glass. Your Majesty, I step forward, my voice clear and unwavering. The Yi family has served the throne for 4 generations. My father died holding the northern pass so that this city could sleep in peace. To see our name linked to such domestic filth is a stain I cannot allow. What is your request, Lady Ye? The emperor asks, his tone softening. I request that the Wei family return the 3 military seals my father entrusted to them upon his deathbed, I say. A gasp ripples through the court. Those seals command the heart of the Northern Army. Without them, Shurao is just a man with a sword, not a commander of men. Qingwan, no. Shurao whispers, his voice cracking. Those seals are my life. You're destroying me. You destroyed yourself, Shurao, when you let a moonlight sign for the grain that was meant to feed your soldiers, I reply, my voice carrying to every corner of the room. You chose her fragility over your duty. Now, you shall have all the fragility you can handle. The emperor nods. So be it. General Wei, surrender the seals. You are hereby demoted to the rank of captain and exiled to the border outposts. Perhaps in the mud and the cold, you will rediscover the honor you lost in the capital. The guards step forward. I watch as they take the bronze seals from Shurao's shaking hands and place them on a velvet tray. They are brought to me. As my fingers close around the cold metal, I feel a shift in the universe. The debt of my past life, the life where I was stripped of my inheritance and left to rot, is finally being paid in full. An hour later, as the court dismisses, I find Shurao waiting for me by the palace gates. The snow is falling harder now, clinging to his eyelashes. He looks pathetic, a fallen titan in the wind. Are you happy now? He asks, his voice thick with bitterness. She's in prison, facing execution. I am a laughingstock. My career is over. Is this the justice you wanted? Justice isn't about my happiness, Shurao, I say, stepping into my carriage. It's about balance. You took my dignity, my home, and in another life, you took my breath. I've simply taken back what was mine. I would have changed, he yells as the carriage begins to move. If you had just given me a chance. I gave you 10 years, I whisper to the empty carriage. You just didn't notice because you were too busy looking at the moon. I arrive back at the Yi Manor, which has been restored to its former glory. The servants I dismissed in the past life are all back, their faces bright with loyalty. But there is one guest waiting in my study. Xiao Jingshan is standing by the fire, a map of the northern borders spread out on my desk. The border outposts are a lonely place for a fallen general, he says without turning around. He'll have plenty of time to think, I reply, sitting across from him. Why are you still here, Your Grace? The hunt is over. The prey is caught. He finally turns, his dark eyes reflecting the firelight. Is it? I thought the hunt for a partner was just beginning. He reaches across the desk and places a small, wooden box in front of me. I open it. It isn't jewelry. It isn't a token of authority. It is a handful of soil from my father's burial mound in the north, a place Shurao never let me visit. I want to help you rebuild the Northern Guard, Jingshan says, his voice dropping to that low, magnetic hum. Not as a wife who hides in the shadows, but as the matriarch of the Yi family. I don't want a Moonlight, Qingwan. I want a sun that burns beside me. I look at the soil, then at the man who has stood in the darkness for me. My heart, which I thought had turned to marble, gives a small, tentative throb of warmth. The sun is very demanding, Your Grace, I warn him, a small smile finally touching my lips. I've always liked the heat, he smiles back. The execution grounds are silent save for the whistling of the north wind. Lin Menger stands on the platform, her white silk robes now tattered and grey. There is no general to save her, no fragile cough to stir the hearts of the guards. As the sun rises, she looks into the crowd and sees me. I am standing far back, draped in heavy sables, a silent witness to the closing of a circle. She tries to scream one last time, a curse, perhaps, but the sound is swallowed by the cold air. The law of the empire is as unforgiving as the winter. She lived by deceit, and she died by the truth she tried to bury. Karmic balance has finally returned to the capital. 3 years later, the northern pass is no longer a place of mourning. I stand on the battlements of the Ye family fortress, the wind whipping my hair. Beside me, the 3 military seals sit encased in gold, a symbol of the authority I reclaimed and held. The northern army doesn't just respect the Ye name, they follow the woman who restored their rations and rebuilt their walls. A pair of strong arms wraps around my waist, pulling me back against a chest that feels like a mountain. Xiao Jingshan rests his chin on my shoulder, his breath warm against my ear. The scouts report that a lone traveler passed through the lower valley today, he whispers. A disgraced captain, grey-haired and broken, heading further into the wastes. He asked if the mistress of the north was happy. I look out over the vast, shimmering horizon. I think of the girl who once wept in a cold pavilion, waiting for a man who never came. I think of the poison, the betrayal, and the long, dark road of my rebirth. And what did the scouts tell him? I ask. They told him, Jingshan says, turning me around to face him, that the sun does not look back at the shadows it has cast. She only looks forward. I smile, and for the first time, it is a smile of pure, unburdened peace. I didn't just survive my fate, I rewrote it. I am no longer a character in someone else's tragedy. I am the architect of my own light. The moonlight has faded. The dawn is here. Tell me which moment shocked you the most or touched your heart the deepest. Your comments mean the world to me, they help me keep creating more stories like this. Please like, subscribe, and share. Your support keeps Lotus Tale Studios alive. See you in the next story.